So in today's session, we are going to go over how to low light your hand-tied wefts. I personally love custom coloring hand-tied wefts because I feel like it allows you to keep a good amount of stock in the salon, and it really does make each guest, it makes their service truly customizable to what their hair needs. So when we are coloring our hand-tied wefts, I always like to use permanent hair color with 10 volume. I feel like it has the best longevity when it comes to actually coloring the extension hair. And then we'll use a demi or a semi to kind of blend out and create a graduation of color and a tone. So whenever I am getting ready to custom color my wefts, I always make sure I comb everything out to make sure that we're not going to get any hairs that are going to actually fly up, or that we're not going to actually get a messy application because of little hairs getting stuck in our color. I always like to use my arm and lay it across the weft. When I am coloring, it kind of holds everything in place and keeps everything nice and neat. Now, most of your clients, I would say 98% of them are going to need a root. So I always start my low lighting off with doing a pretty significant root. And when I'm doing my root, I'm always making sure that I'm really getting up in the seam and that I'm blending everything down. And I'm kind of softening that line to create that beautiful graduation of color. I'm always double checking to make sure I have an even saturation, and you really do want to use a good amount of color because that is going to absorb very quickly into the extension hair. So I always flip it over and do both sides because the coloring does not usually go through on the other side. So I want to make sure whatever I'm doing on one side, I'm also doing on the other. Again, I'm feathering down and I'm creating a good saturation and a really, really good application of color. So after I apply my root color, I'm going to go in and just double check to make sure that everything is evenly saturated, that I have a good application. And then I'm going to go in with my comb and I'm going to comb through the weft to make sure that everything is evenly distributed. It's also going to help break up that line and give a softer look. And it really does make sure that we don't get any blonde spots at the top, which can happen if you don't really do a thorough application or comb through. So after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and dry brush. So dry brushing is when you use a dry brush to soften the line with your application. And then we're going to go in and we're going to weave out the pieces that we want to actually create as a low light on this weft. Now you can custom tailor this in any way. You can do very thin pieces, you can do super chunky pieces. And this is one of the things that I love about custom coloring. One, wefts that are just one color are definitely less expensive. Two, it really does allow you to custom tailor the service to the client's needs. And it does allow you to create a seamless blend because you can make any adjustments that you need with actually coloring the hair yourself. So once we have our pieces picked up, pushed out of the way, we're going to go in and we are actually going to use our demi-permanent color to blend out that line to create a soft demarcation, a soft line of demarcation, and a nice graduation of color. So before I actually get started with that, I'm going to go in again and I'm going to comb everything out to make sure that everything is untangled and everything is laying nice. And then I'm going to go in with my demi and I'm going to apply this. This is clear with a neutral. So it's primarily clear because it's going to give you a nice translucent sheer coverage, which is perfect for creating a beautiful graduation of color. I love having my assistants do this. I love doing this myself. It really is the creative part. I feel like one of the creative parts of this process. And again, when we're doing this, it really does allow us to custom tailor the client's hair to exactly what they need. So once we've got that finished, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna dry brush that again. And then we're going to start the low light process. Now for this coloring, I really do like to just use your regular Reynolds foil. It allows you to choose the size you want for the weft. It allows a lot of space and it just makes everything so much easier. So we're going to go ahead and fold that over and we're going to actually start our low light process. Now, I will say with your low lights, you really need to make sure that you are doing a thorough application. I've seen it so many times inside of our salon that when people are trying to low light the extension hair, that it can get a little spotty or uneven. So again, I'm going to go through and make sure everything is combed out. There's no tangles. And then I'm going to go ahead and reapply my color to the root to make sure that I have no spots. And then I'm going to go in and add my low light color. Now, again, I've mentioned this in previous videos. When you are custom coloring hair, this is something that you should be charging for. At my salon, we charge an hourly rate. So whatever time our stylist spends custom coloring somebody's hair, we add it on to their total. Whatever that hourly rate looks like for you, you can do a flat fee if that's what your salon does. But I really do like the hourly option because it really does allow the stylist to get paid for their time. Now again, I'm combing, I'm really making sure I'm doing a very thorough job of applying the color because this is going to ensure that there's no spotting, that the low light is even from root to end. And it really does make sure that the saturation is good. Like I said, these extensions tend to really absorb color. So I like to check the processing halfway through. I usually will let this process about 20 minutes. And the reason why I like to check the process halfway through is that it will show if you need to make any adjustments. Light spots show, any areas that need to be resaturated show. So I definitely do this when I have time to check on it halfway through. I set a timer for 10 minutes. I check. I don't rinse out the color bowls until I am completely satisfied with my color application. And I absolutely love this process of the service. Really going back and forth, making sure I'm moving that hair around. Again, I want to make sure that everything is evenly saturated, that we have enough color. And depending on how many wefts you're doing and what type of color that you're doing, I would say you're probably going to use anywhere from an ounce or two of hair color. Just keep that in mind. Again, we're going to let this process for about 20 minutes. I'm combing everything through. And that is our low lighting process. I give it one good sweep over with my hand to make sure that everything is emulsified and evenly saturated. And I can't wait for you to see the result of this weft. It turned out beautiful. For formulation, I like to use a lot of beiges. This formulation is all nutrients. I used all nutrients 8B with 7N. I would say that's probably one of my favorite formulas. It gives you a nice, cool, neutral brown. And here you go. Here is the end result. These are the 3 different techniques we actually did together. So there's a rooted, a balayage technique, and then the low lighted. So as you can see, when you combined all those together, you really get a beautiful result. And here is our low lighted piece. It turned out so perfect. I love the root at the top. It's so soft. Our low lights are even from root to end, and this will be perfect for any client. All right, thanks for watching today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below.